Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Alex Barie, the lead editor of TNAnews.com, and I'm here to bring you something different, something I usually don't do. You see, it's 2015, and I want to try something different, something, more for the website, quality and quantity. And with Impact Wrestling airing quote-unquote live last night on Destination America, their debut on the network, there's a lot of hype, there was a lot of, anticipation, excitement, and I decided to give my thoughts, my analysis, my opinion about the show. You see, throughout the show, I gave my quick opinion on Facebook and Twitter, as I also wrote live coverage of it on WrestlingNewsWorld.com. But I really didn't go too much into detail, too much in depth on it. And that's why I want to do this piece, this kind of podcast, this audio version of it today. Basically, in front of me, I have my Impact Wrestling results on WrestlingNewsWorld.com, as well as my booking script on TNAnews.com that I wrote the other day for this live episode. Now, let me tell you, I didn't know what TNA had plans for. I didn't know, the surprises that they would bring. I thought Alberto Del Rio would show up. He didn't. Maybe bigger surprises. Goldberg, I had him in my script, and I'll explain why later on. But, I worked with what I had. I worked with, anything I could grasp my fingers on. But I run down the show, quote-unquote, live from last night, as well as my booking sheet. Compare them, contrast them, what's different, what's better, and so forth. But Impact Wrestling last night started off with this video opener. And I gotta tell you, this video opener didn't blow me away, but it was great. I loved it. It gave me a certain feeling that this is not only the new era in TNA, but this is, a reset, a refurbish, as I could say, of the show. Make it more appealing, make it more interesting, edgy. And I liked it. And they went on to do a huge brawl from outside the arena to inside the arena, through the crowd, around the ring, everywhere. And, alright, that was cool, that was neat, but it's not like we haven't seen that before. I mean, if you remember, Main Event Mafia, they had a huge brawl, Main Event Mafia versus the whole entire roster at one point. It's just, aces and eights as well. Been there, done that. But it was interesting. It was, I kept my eyes, peeled to the TV. And then we went on to Kurt Angle coming out. And pretty much, going face to face with MVP. And Kurt Angle's announcement was that he was no longer the director of operations. He was now an active wrestler, and he made his matches for the night. I'll get into those later. But then he made his match himself versus MVP in a street fight. And, I love to see Kurt Angle back. I love seeing him wrestle in the ring. He's one of my favorite, probably my favorite in-ring performer of all time. Every time his matches are on, I love writing live coverage for him, because not only are they easy, but they're just, I have that, the way he wrestles in the ring is so unique, so different, so cool, that it just so easily flowed from the TV set to my fingers to onto the live coverage sheet, and I like it. But as I announced on TNAnews.com the other day, that, a couple weeks ago when Kurt Angle did re-sign, that he could be cleared probably January 1st at the near earliest. And that was what had happened. He was cleared. He's now a wrestler. And we've seen him in the match that, yesterday. He ended up winning. Good for Kurt. Liked, decent match. Street fight wasn't really all that much of a street fight, but it was manageable. But for my booking sheet, when I wrote it, I did first, I started with a video package, an educational piece, as I called it, for the viewers, to show TNA's history, where they've been, and also where they want to go to, and in their new era, going forward. I talked about pyro. Apparently, you can't do pyrotectonics in the Manhattan Center. I understand that, but a little laser show, smoke display, there could have been something worked out, to make it at least somewhat, catchy, somewhat eye appealing, as I would say. Had Kurt go to the ring, announce his announcement. He did that right on point. But my first match was Ethan Carter III versus Eric Young with Rockstar Spud at ringside. Basically, I didn't know what TNA was going to do with their matches. It's a new era. They haven't had a show produced in about 2 months, a little over 2 months, of original programming. So I didn't know if they were going to have, start with fresh, brand new stories or continue on with their other ones. But we see, as the night went on, how Ethan Carter III and Rockstar Spud still have their story going on. But I here had it as well in this match. And, I had Ethan Carter III win against Eric Young. But I also had Rockstar Spud shine, where he pretty much, attacks Tyrus, makes him, fall over. Then attacks Ethan Carter III with a steel chair, makes him bleed. And basically my whole situation for that was to get Rockstar Spud over as much as I could. Make him a believable fighter, a believable, opponent for these two. I then went on against, not against, but I went on with the Hardys and the Wolves talking backstage. The Revolution was watching from a distance. And long story short, the Hardys slapped the Wolves because they won the tag team tournament. They are the ones who should be getting a TNA tag team title shot. And, as we saw last night, they didn't. The Wolves got it. So it kind of goes hand in hand, and I think I could still incorporate that, TNA could incorporate that into their future shows, but kind of made the Hardys a little bit more heelistic. But basically, for my reason, I don't know how long Matt Hardy's going to be around for, but I want to push the Wolves to the moon. I want to make them, easily the best tag team in the world. And have Hardys and Wolves fight a little bit, watch the Evolution, have them kind of watch over, and then just go in for the kill, I guess you could say. Back to Impact last night, it had cameras shooting from different areas. We've seen Josh Matthews with Taz at the commentator's booth, I guess, in the balcony. But what I found interesting is that they're talking about these cameras all over the arena, backstage, get a glimpse of what might be going on at any time. And they had a camera above the belt or above the gorilla position backstage, where it had John Gaburk and Al Snow there. And I kind of find this funny. I found it interesting. I'm sure everyone, the IWC, found it cool, hopefully, I don't know, as well. But if you're a casual viewer, if you're a casual wrestling fan, and you don't know too much about the wrestling, you just business, you just know, it's scripted, but you want to see the stories, the characters, and you see this camera, and you see those people, you're not going to know who John Gaburk is if you don't really follow TNA. You're not going to know why that booth is there, what they're doing. And for them to show it kind of, I think made the casual wrestling fans a little bit stupid, for the lack of a better word, a little bit, dumbfounded. But here we are, we know all about it, and they're just watching on saying, well, why is that significant? Why is that meaningful? What's the purpose of that? And that's what they didn't explain. Hopefully they do in the future. And, that's all I got to say about that. But, they had Ethan Carter III and Tyrus, backstage in a little segment, talking about cutting someone's hair. They go on. They show Mike Tenay which I love. I love Mike Tenay. I'm sad to see him go from the Impact Wrestling booth, but I like his new rule that he's going to play. I think he's going to excel in it tremendously. But we seen him yesterday. He did a little interview with James Storm. I didn't mind it. I liked the interview. It was good stuff. We go on to James Storm versus Abyss versus the Wolves. Tag team action for the titles. Good match, decent match. Nothing too much to say about that. My next match was on my booking sheet, MVP versus, Mr. Anderson and Chris Melendez. Basically, we know the confrontation with Mr. Anderson, Chris Melendez, and MVP and his little group from last year. I decided to carry that forward. I didn't know what TNA was going to do, but I turned Mr. Anderson heel in this match, left Chris Melendez for bait, for MVP and Kenny King. And basically I want to give Mr. Anderson a prominent role. I want to give him, not just a side role, a lackey. Give him, the time that he deserves to, he's a talent. He's a great talent. And I think they're underutilizing him. I think they're not really pushing him to, what they really should. Because he could really be a main event guy. And they're, barely having him on TV. I then went to Havoc versus Terror and Terrell. A little match there. Had a beautiful people, distract. Distract Havoc to come out. And Terror and Terrell got the win. Kind of set up a thing where they want to have Terror and Terrell in a beautiful people group. I was working on that story. For Impact Wrestling, we went on to different backstage segments. Here's what I want to talk about. They had these backstage cameras. You had MVP talking to Kenny King. He went up, with Bobby Lashley. They went backstage a little later, talking one-on-one with MVP and King. And the audio of the segments was flat out horrible. It was flat out embarrassing. I could barely understand what was going on. I'm sure everyone else did. I even got a text from a friend watching Impact, and he said, "What's wrong with the sound? I can't hear anything." TNA is, almost a 13-year-old company, and they have, they can't make these little mistakes. They know the production. Come on, John Gaburick. That's what your position is. Production. You should know all about it. Yet, you go and have these video segments, backstage, segment by segment by segment, and we can barely hear them. Where's the audio? Why can't we understand them? Yeah, I know you want to make it feel like it's reality-based, that the camera's far away. It's not supposed to catch it. But come on, realistically, we need to hear them. We need to hear what's going on. Otherwise, what's the point of even having this segment? It's useless. From then on, we went to Ethan Carter III and, Tyrus in the ring, Jeremy Borash, and they attack Borash. Rockstar Spud comes out, and, they pick on him, about to shave his head, but they shave Borash's instead. Good segment. I love how Ethan Carter III has rose up to the, not the top, but to a great level in a little over a year on Impact Wrestling. Gave him a unique character, a developed character, multi-layer character, and I always love that. It's great seeing that type of character on any show. Went on to, the X Division Championship then, Low Key versus Austin Aries, and this match, I thought it was a great match. There were some people who didn't like it. I don't know why. But I thought both of these two, really, it wasn't a classic match. It wasn't a 5-star match, but it was decent. It was good. I enjoyed it. Fast pace. These two are always, on point with their moves. Austin Aries won. Surprisingly, he's the new X Division champion. Low key, really hasn't held it long at all. I wondered, what his status was going to be in the company. I'll talk about that more later. But Aries won. I'm glad to see him as champion, a prominent role. And, they had a video package before the match explaining the X Division, the past and what it means. And I thought that was cool, unique, and really, I think they know what the X Division is about right now. I think they know that the X Division should be a key focus, a prominent focus, not only, on the each week, but every week, all year around. And hopefully they know that. Hopefully they catch on to that, and they will execute that to perfection, as we go on, down the line. For my booking sheet for the X Division, I had Low Key versus Tigre Uno. Basically, this was a little squash match. I booked. Low Key won without, it was a good match. It's short, but Low Key won. But at the end, Samoa Joe actually, no, I had Samoa Joe come out before the match ended. I would have probably had Low Key won anyway. But Samoa Joe come out, beat both of these two up, and then grabbed the mic, laid a little quote-unquote pipe bomb, talked about management and everything, and how, he's gonna, be the unstoppable force. And then out comes Goldberg, where I had planned in my mind, if they had any surprises coming up to this event, it was going to be, maybe they will have Goldberg, Alberto Del Rio, I don't know. But I would have tried to get Goldberg on. I doubt that's even feasible, possible, but I would have had Goldberg come out, and the feud between them two, ultimately to make Samoa Joe the unstoppable force, the be-all, end-all, what he used to be, and what he was back in 2005, 2006. That's what Samoa Joe is. The Joe is going to kill you. The undefeated Samoan submission machine. And, we'll see Samoa Joe later on in a show, Impact Wrestling version, and I'll talk about that too. But then, for that show, we had a Battle Royal for the Knockouts Championship. Simple match, nothing exciting, nothing great. Tara and Terrell won. And then we went on to Havoc beat her up at the end. All of a sudden, the lights go out, and here comes Awesome Kong. The return of Awesome Kong. And simply put, it was awesome. I heard or read some reports before Impact Wrestling started that Awesome Kong was backstage in the Manhattan Center. And I was going to report it on TNAnews.com, but, it was from different websites, and I only trust a few, obviously. And, I want to back up my stories before I post them. So that's why I didn't post it. But yes, she is back, and, it's great seeing her. And I was quite surprised because all these interviews she has done, she always stated that she would never go back to TNA, that she would, her time with TNA is gone, she's moving forward. But when she left, that was during the Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff regime. That was during their time, and she was frustrated because of them. They're long gone from TNA. TNA is, as you may be able to say, back pre-2009 with, Dixie Carter, Six-Sided Ring. They have John Goldberg there, it's new. But pretty much almost the same type of atmosphere. And maybe that, enticed Awesome Kong to come back. Either way, it's great seeing her. And I would just love to see a feud between her and Havoc. Hopefully, it's a long, drawn-out feud. A really developed feud that we could sink our teeth into. Because I think, really, that's what TNA needs. That's what the knockout division needs. They need a story, a well-developed story that we could relate to, that, these two behemoth stars, Havoc that's unstoppable, and Awesome Kong that's just, from the past, show video packages of her, 2006 and so forth on, of how great she was. And you could really set up in a huge match down the line in the future. Don't rush it, TNA. Don't rush it. And then on my booking sheet, I had superstars like Magnus, Bram. I think I had Samuel Shaw in a segment. And basically for that, what I really want to do is separate Magnus and Bram. Magnus is a star. Let's be clear with that. He is a future, not only a world champion, but a super main event status type of guy. He was world champion in 2014. He's a main event guy. So why not, get him to that level again? He's been sidetracked ever since he lost the title. Bram really outshined him and many others in the locker room. So I would have Magnus ultimately turn face, but also have Samuel Shaw and Bram kind of have a little relationship. They're a little bit eccentric, to say the least. They're crazy. Bram's this hardcore Mick Foley type of guy, and Samuel Shaw is a stalker type of, he could be, extreme, he could be hardcore. I think there would be a great, combo, chemistry, and, I think there's a lot of potential between them and what they could do together. The show went on, Impact Wrestling. They had, showing Barie walking backstage, getting ready for his match coming up next. I kind of had the same thing before that on my booking sheet. But I had Kurt Angle actually walking around backstage looking for MVP. He, finds Kenny King, pushes him against the wall, threatens him, asks him where MVP is, beats him up, and continues on his way. I think, with Kurt Angle being, going against MVP now, you need to create, a not only developed story, but a layered story where, just Kurt Angle just wants to beat him up to a pulp. And, Kurt can't do that, and he's going to find his way to be able to do that. You had Lashley versus Bobby Roode for the, championship at the main event, right on point with mine. I had Roode win the title, actually, or keep the title, sorry. And then Lashley beat him up at the end, destroys him with, all these weapons, steel chair, steel trash can, aluminum trash can lid, I guess, and takes the title and walks away. They had, yes, Lashley win the title. I think, why would they take Roode, win the title with him in end of October, have a couple shows, for the remainder of the year, and then make him lose the title back in January, back on this episode? I think that shows that TNA really didn't have a long-term plan, and in all honesty, how could they have when their contract with Spike TV went up? They didn't know where they're going to land, cable-wise, network-wise. They didn't know. We didn't know. No one knew. So, now that they know, they have to start planning, not only now, but for the future, and, long-term booking again. And that's, they went back to Lashley as champion. I don't think Roode, I don't think they gave Roode his chance. Now if he wins it the third time, does that time mean really anything special? I think his second time was just, a waste, kind of, and it will be forgotten, no doubt about it. But I would like to see, if they do a Bobby versus, or Roode versus Lashley 4. They maybe lockdown. We'll see. But, I probably guess that they will do that. But one thing I want to make note about during the match is that they had in the left-hand bottom corner of the screen a little box, of a camera shot backstage of MVP and Kenny King, trying to enter the arena. The security says no. All of a sudden we see these two masked men behind them. They all beat up the security and continue forward on their way to, the ring. Then they cut to commercial. Now, this is how you do a commercial break. You have, if you want to do it during a match, you have something like that before the commercial. You have something that makes the viewers, the audience, interested to see what's going to happen. I was tuned in. I definitely want to see where this was going. And I'm sure many else did too. So you have something like this that keeps us, has someone's interest, intrigue. Otherwise, if it just happened during a regular match, during this match without anything, they probably flick off the channel and maybe never come back. But for this, it makes them want to see who these people are, what they're going to do, and that is what I praise TNA until I'm blue in the face, because it was good. That was awesome. For me, I had my commercial break after the match, and then I came back for a limo pulling up. Dixie Carter gets out. Of course, this would be taped because she wasn't backstage during the show, during the tapings. So this, Dixie comes out of the limo, and then Alberto Del Rio comes out. We then see Gunner and Austin Aries talking. Del Rio beats them both up and continues on as Dixie nods her head and smirks. For Impact, they had a commercial break, as I said, during the match. They came back. Lashley won. All of a sudden, we had, during the match, these, MVP, Kenny King, and these two masked men come out. The masked men take off the masks, and it's Low Key and Samoa Joe. And there we have Samoa Joe, heel, as I booked in my booking sheet. Have him turn, unstoppable force. Hopefully he's like that here. Who cares, about anything else except for him. I kind of see him team with MVP though, trying to get his way. But at the end of the day, Low Key also turns heel. Surprising. And then, Eric Young comes out, tries to save Rude, but then attacks him for a swerve ×3, and they all turn heel against Rude with MVP, and Lashley wins. This ending was a great cliffhanger for the next episode. Everyone wants to see what's going to happen next. Everyone wants to know why they did that. What's the purpose? And hopefully we find out. It was a great ending that really was executed well, but they need to follow up on it. They need to tell the story in and out. No loopholes, no illogical booking. But one thing I didn't like, and Vince Russo brought this up on his podcast, is that when they entered the arena, they beat up the security, went past them. Why? Low Key and Samoa Joe are on the roster. They should have been backstage already. Low Key had a match earlier that night. So for them to leave the arena and then come back with masks on, this makes it illogical, makes it kind of stupid. Why not just have them already there, maybe put the masks on while they're backstage, have them walking, and say, well, who's that? Why did that happen? But on the flip side, I'm thinking of it right now, maybe they went out of the arena to change, to put the masks on, so the cameras that are supposedly all around backstage wouldn't pick it up. And if that's the case, then that's, superb on TNA's part, and maybe they actually did that. and that makes sense to me. But we could see it either way, and it's only kind of like subjective based on what we think of it, as. But overall, I think there were some hits and misses, or there were misses on tonight's show, but there were a lot of hits. Awesome Kong, the ending, some surprises of Lashley winning, Austin Aries winning, and I enjoyed the show. It's not that new from what we've seen before, but I think down the line they will continue to, mold their product into something that's worth watching, that's hopefully an eye catcher and appealing to the audience. So I guess I could continue to say that we can't count TNA out yet. I wrote on a blog, on a post on Vince Russo's website, that we need to give TNA a chance. And that is what we all need to do. Give them time. We just can't, they just can't come out of the gate and be this 5-star company overnight. They need to develop it. They need to, keep on trucking, I guess you could say, week in and week out. And we need to follow them. We need to be optimistic. We need to, watch closely. I think they could do it. I think they are capable of doing it. And, as I said, we just need to give them a chance. We need to wait to see what happens. But that's it for me on this, installment, this little talk review I have. Thank you for listening. And I'll be, you can find me on TNAnews.com. I'm going to have my hashtag TNA Talk, installment. It's returning. I'll have that, tonight on Thursday night, the 8th here. But until next time, I am Alex Barie.